Morning, guys. Todd, good morning. I hope everybody's doing good today. All right. Well, I did a little bit of work last night. I need to get on the ball, but this one's a little bit narrow. This is that one that had all that concrete in it, and to try to get that profile right where it would release a flute, I lost a little bit of width, but setting that one aside for Friday, and we're going to work on a few more bifaces here to try to get them to a point. On tonight's live, if I'm able to go live tonight, I'm going to do some more pressure flaking, so try to get all these preforms ready to go for Friday. We're going to flute a bunch of stuff Friday, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. Tonight, I think we'll do like a little bit closer view because it's going to be mostly pressure flaking. See what I've done with them. For the antler quite as well as the other one I was using, but I don't know what I've done with it. I'm going to use these two for now. Hey, good morning, Terry. How you doing today? Skeet, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm just setting up a few platforms. We got an area right here. It's got some mass that we need to. Doing good, Terry. We're getting a lot of heavy wind today. There's supposed to be some possibility of some storms popping up later, and maybe even some snow, which is crazy. But the wind is just whipping here. Yeah, we're supposed to get like possible 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts today, so it's supposed to be like sustained with that lift, sustained winds of like upper 20s. Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, it is blowing, Bryce. But yeah, that's nuts. I don't like how that lit there. I needed a little bit more width in that area. I'm gonna lose a little bit of length trying to get this base squared up. I might turn that into the tip, just depends. I think I might. Let me take these other flakes. See, we might end up turning that into the tip because there's some thickness there that I can take down, and then this won't take much to flatten that end out. Now, a lot of this, Chris, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. A lot of this later stage stuff, I'll do a lot of the prep work with pressure flaking because I can be a lot more precise in how I direct those flakes. You can see we're going to this area here, but I'm starting up here and leading into that and building, trying to isolate that even more. We're getting to a point or a spot in the point that every flake that we take now has the potential to do something that's going to affect the finished point. We don't have a lot of material to fix mistakes, so try to use every bit of the rock to set up contours that will help us get where we want to be at the end of this. All right, this one we're going to try to, there's a little bit of a step off one side of it. We're going to try to slide to this side of it just a little bit. I think I'm going to take a flake right there though and isolate it just a little bit more. Kind of a steep edge there. I'm trying not to make a deep flake that terminates with a step there. There we go. Slipping off the edge of there. Oh yeah. Okay, so now we've come from the base and the tip here to isolate that area right there. So now, since there's no place for that energy to go but down that ridge, it should help increase the chances of it working. Get the right angle and inward pressure here. And see how that tapered right across that entire piece, and how it made a really flattened out our, gave us a really nice profile right in that area. You can see how much mass that removed off of that. And then we've got a spot right next to it. Now you don't want to jump right into that and try to take a flake without kind of preparing it. If you don't go back in and set up the platform, Brian, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. If you don't go back in and kind of reset that platform, make sure that it's isolated and that it's not going to break away too early. This is a kind of a prime spot to put a big step hinge or a step or a hinge, either one, where you're going to have a short flake go out there and terminate before you want it to. Okay, I just reset that up. Now there's a little bit of a chatter right behind it, but I think it's going to go through that pretty easy. See, it's just like a big pressure flake almost. And you see how that went right along that. So that pretty much set that was what we needed to lose for that that contour right there. All right, a little bit more pressure work. And then this one should be ready for the flute trying stack. That's what we're going to try on Friday. I'm going to try to get as many of these prepared as I can, and then just try to flute as many of them as we can get done on Friday. If that's still something you guys would like to watch. I was just trying to, there's this side here is a little, oh no, Rick, this is one of my old, this is a whitetail brow tine. It's been used pretty hard. You can see the patina on it from me polishing it with my hands, but I haven't cut any of that moose up yet. I'm looking forward to it though. Ted, thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna have some new punches and some new tools coming out pretty quick once I get to cutting on that moose antler. I don't usually like it for billets and stuff, but it works really well as a punch, you know, sized down a little bit. I don't even really like because I've got plenty of big moose billets. You know, I've got and this honking thing that I don't know if I've got rock around here to use that thing on. But I've got those big billets, but I was looking for some sections that had longer tines. You'd like to buy a small piece of, Ted, of antler or of arrowheads? Because I don't sell the antler, but I do have an Etsy shop. So if you're looking to buy like arrowheads or that kind of stuff, some of my knives, I have all that available there. But So what we're doing right here is we're just trying to get that edge lined up, and you can see that it's kind of uneven, and there's some like right up in here, right here you can see like a little undercut. Absolutely, Ted. Yeah, but if you're curious about any of that stuff, I've got links up here. If you go to the little thing where my profile page is. Hey, Don, good morning. I've got links to all of that stuff. So, I mean, if that's something that you're looking for. And here's a spot that's making me a little bit nervous, because this is that rock that we had that had all those crystal pockets and seams and inclusions and stuff in, and there's one more right here. I don't think it goes all the way through, but it's right in line. You see those holes right there. It's right in line where I've got this area that's probably the reason that the last flake failed, is because it hit that, because it kind of stopped right on that edge. So this is one of those spots that if it really messes up there, it could mess up. Trying to see, I'm still going for that at the point. I've got a little bit of room to spare up here, so it shouldn't be catastrophic. Yeah, I saw that, Don. You're improving a lot. I can tell you've been practicing, man. Hey, Skitty, thank you very much. What I'm doing here is just the same as I did on that other spot. I'm trying to work up to it and set an angle and a profile where I'm isolating that ridge, so that when I try to take this flake, that it has nowhere else to go but following that ridge. You can see those flakes I took right before that, how this whole area here is above this area here that I want to remove. Somebody said something about TV glass. Won't be any more of it. Well, it's getting harder to find those old TVs. Not very many of them still around, and when you do find them, they're usually broken. All right, we're going to see if we can get lucky here. All over the roadsides. Well, you got you a napping resource there, Don. And that just cut right underneath that. Actually went a little deeper than I wanted it to for this late in the deal, but that'll work. I can contour around that. I get those edges cleaned up. I still haven't completely decided which, call it hillbilly dump. Yeah, we get a few, out here where I live, we get the occasional couch and a TV every once in a while, that kind of stuff. Had a washer dryer down off the road one day, somebody dumped in a ditch. Bunch of tires. I like how this little antler is really grabbing the rock well today. These Folsoms are so, the flaking is so specialized that it really is a lot of, I've made a few of them on camera with you guys watching, but there's so much prep work involved in making sure that everything's right. I mean, I'd be lying if I'm a little nervous about Friday and fluting that many of them, just one right after another, because it's like I told you guys, the Folsom people, they estimate, well, depending on the archaeologist, but down there you call it erosion control. That's awesome, Brizzo. But that the Folsom people had anywhere between a 40 and 60% failure rate. So that's basically half. And when you think about what you do every day for a living, if half of the time that you did it, it was a failure, and that's rough. So everything needs to be, just so for it to do what it's supposed to do. And I'm hoping that doing a bunch of them in a row will actually help me learn a little bit too. So, that just doing it repetitive like that is give you a little bit more, a different insight. Because they are a frustrating point style to make, because, obviously all of the prep work to get it to the point where you can try to flute it, and then you get, a couple of 3 shots at it. So I've reset up and refluted before, but basically you're sitting and doing all this work for, the hope that you're not going to blow it up at the end. So they were really a frustrating point when I first started trying to make them, because I broke everything. I mean, guys, I'm not kidding you. I've made several hundred bifaces that were complete and utter failures. And I mean, I'm talking about hours spent making those things and then have them come apart when you were fluting. And it is very frustrating, to say the least. Yeah, Don, are you still in here? I was worried. I saw that the post that you got in trouble for posting pictures of bones or something on your page, and I went to post a picture of those antlers, and I thought, man, because they said content is under review, and I thought, I'm like, whoo. Daytime, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was concerned that they were going to flag my account because I posted antlers. They're essentially bones, no different than what you guys were picking up. Yeah, Daytime, welcome in. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. That's why I do these lives, so you guys can. Blake, good morning. Yeah, I got to start bringing this base in, because we're going to end up with about we'll be somewhere in the 2.5 inch preform length on this. So which side am I going to flute first? Probably this one. That's the other thing about these. With the Folsoms or any of these, you don't realize as you're working these down, you know, for me, I start getting almost upset with myself because you feel like you've lost so much material, but it takes so much to get everything just right for these to work. And then when you look at originals, you know, at casts and stuff, I mean, and these are both early stage, and they're not all that big at all. This one may have been about probably that long, I would guess, when it was new. This one, no telling, about the same though, I would guess. But you can see the thickness and the way that they're built. I'm getting ready to come in and square this end off and then really set a ridge to this side is what we'll start working on. Awesome, Don. I'm glad to hear that the surgery went well. Yeah, that's awesome news. Oh, Blake, I can make, I mean, if everything goes well on a piece, I was trying to find something handy here that I could, but most of those pieces they start out probably, I can usually within an inch of the length, depending on how it works out. Sometimes if there's issues in a base or a tip, and I'll lose a little bit, but usually about an inch longer than what I started with. And you know, the width really doesn't matter on a Clovis. You have so much, they're not a really wide point, so you've got a lot of working material. That's similar to these. You can alter the edges quite a bit because they're a fairly narrow point. So awesome, Don. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I hope that I can catch you. I got some stuff going on around here, and I will keep an eye out for you going live. I'm hoping to get back on here tonight. I'm waiting to see. I've been doing a lot of these require a lot of pressure flaking, and doing that much pressure flaking is really hard on my arthritis in my hands. And if they'll hold up till I can get a few bifaces made. Right on, Don. Well, like I said, I don't know. It just depends on how my hands feel. I've been trying to do the Wednesday night lives, but boy, an increase in doing this fine work like this really makes my hands burn. All right, see now we've beveled the majority of that edge. You can see how it kind of swoops a little bit towards the end, and we're just going to keep working that edge back and forth until we get it some convexity built, and then also get the contours right. You know, we're trying to isolate a ridge down the center of this piece right here so that when we flute it, that energy will travel down that ridge and hopefully go as close to the tip as we can get it to. So anytime you're dealing with that where you've got, see back here towards the base, see how that's angled up, and it's actually more towards this side here. So to get it started, I'm gonna go the way that it's set up. Seeing that flake, just nice little easy pop, went halfway across the piece. We'll get those low spots. Come back and just start setting that edge, and you'll see how it's straightened it out here in just a second. Now I'm not trying to take big long flakes on these. These are just edge rounding, like a contouring flakes, because you can see if we look at that from the base, this is the area that I just set up over here. You can see we don't have much convexity. It's kind of, it goes out here flat, and then it just kind of stays flat until it gets into a concavity over here. We're trying to build some roundness to this face right here. Because without that, it's next to impossible to get your flute flake to travel all the way down the end of it. So these are fairly aggressive downward flakes. And then we'll probably do one more set that's a little bit more inward. Hey, Brandon, good morning. And when the platform is not as stout or well ground, you don't want to push with a lot of force, and you actually right on, Kenosha. I will if I don't get over there this afternoon, I will be over there tomorrow, and so Monday we'll do the unboxing on Monday mornings live, and I'll work it on, or start working it on Monday. And thank you again. I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything in particular you'd like to see me work at? You know, what kind of points do you like, if you have any in particular? Yeah, I live, you know, I'm heading up to the post office, but I live out in the country, so I don't make a lot of trips to town. Those folks scare me, you know. But no, I'll make it up there probably tomorrow. Oh, lithic casting labs, Justin. I'm in the process of getting an order taken care of, but the guy that does it, Pete, he doesn't. He's old school, and there's another one, Justin. They're a little bit more expensive, but they've got some other stuff that you can't get a hold of, and that's Mammoth Run Casting. That was another one that I had thought of. That they do casting of artifacts also, but they are a little bit more expensive than what Pete is. So, but yeah, Pete is old school. He doesn't have electronic, you know, point of sale kind of, you know, I can't Venmo or you know, any of that stuff to him. So unfortunately, I've got to try to figure out either cash or, well, not cash to mail, but like I don't have checks anymore. Nobody uses checks, so I've got to go get a money order, I guess, to send for my order. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Well, I said that one, I might need to do another pass, but we're going to be really close, I think, after this pass to be able to set this one aside and have it set up as a one being ready to flute. That'll be 2. So, like I said, I'm hoping to get a half a dozen of them ready to where we can just flute one right after another and then go back and set them each up and do them again. So that's the goal for Friday anyway. But yeah, I gotta get a money order for the amount, and I gotta figure out the shipping and all that stuff. But I've got a pretty sizable order that I'd like to send, and he doesn't do online ordering, or you can just, well, I think you can call the number and do a verbal order over the phone and then send him the money, and then once he gets it, he'll send you the points or the casts. But like I said, kind of old school. Like that spot right there. Get plenty of that dust on there. You saw me a while ago where I was using some of that oxidized shell on this, kind of chalking the end of it. Sometimes you'll get on a really steep angle, your antler tool will want to slip off there. And that's why you see me brush it so much on the margins when I'm preparing the edge, is because I want a lot of dust on there, a lot of grit. It helps the tool grab a hold of the edge. It takes a lot less effort to pull a flake off. And you don't want to touch with your fingers where you're getting ready to flake either, because the oil's in your hand can actually cause the tool to slip also. See that flake turned and went over the top of this little, you see that little spot right there? When that convexity is right, those points, see that one went all the way out to the middle, it just rode that ridge. Same thing with that one. Whenever you get the convexity right, it's almost harder to keep the flakes from going too far than it is to get them to go far enough. Hey, I appreciate it, Kenosha, and I'll wait till you're in the chat on Monday to work any of that. And I appreciate it. Thank you again. I have made a few Cumberlands, and thank you. I appreciate you supporting me with the gifts of the material, Kenosha. Bubba, I made a couple of smaller ones. It's actually on my list. You know, I've been working a lot on these Folsoms, and the technology is similar. So I'm thinking about kind of, you know, starting into doing a little bit of research on the Cumberlands also. But I've made a couple. They were not much to write home about, but none of them ever are when you first start a point style. You know, if you're trying to match the flaking and the contours and all the stuff of an ancient piece, it sometimes will take you a while to get the feel for that. One of my mentors, Jim Redfern, one of his things that he likes to say is, if you want to learn how to make a point style, you make a full case of them. Just make them until you're so sick of making them that, you know, it becomes, you know, second nature to you. And that's how you ingrain that stuff in your head. That's why this week I decided to work on these Folsoms as kind of a primer. I'm going to do a video this weekend of like an instructional video, real up close, and be able to show what I'm doing a lot better on making Folsoms. So there, I like that much better. Oh, that's awesome, Bubba. Yeah, that'd be a heck of a deal. I know that I've seen some of the guys making some really nice stuff out of some of the bigger pieces at Tallahassee. You know, and obviously there's different grades of it, but yeah, there's some really beautiful work can be done with that stuff. See, I'm going back over the same face that I just did a set on, because I'm still trying to get that contour. You can see those flakes I just took here, how that rounded that, and where I'm going to, it's a lot more, it's flatter, and it leads into that. I want it to be like this back here. As close to that as I can. there's the little step. Got it. Now, if you see the flake scars, you can't really see them very well on there. It doesn't show up hardly at all, but what I'm trying to get to on that first flute face, you can maybe see them right in there, if I can get them right in the shadow. There's a flake, you know, they're ordered pulled out flakes, and what I'm trying to get to is this look right here. And it's really similar, if I can get them in the right light, but the profiles of it are the same. You've got, once I set that, the platform, it's going to be really similar in the contours of that original piece. This side needs to be worked a little bit too. Like I said, it's one of the things with this point style. If you kind of cheat your way through a few of the steps, it definitely affects your end result. But I think after this pass, we'll be able to set up the fluting platform and then set it aside to be fluted on Friday. That little flake, or that one. Doggone it. I think it's enough out of the margin that we should be okay though. All right, now let's set up the fluting platform. All right, now I'm going to go from this side here, and I'm going to put in right here on this corner, and I'm going to go out and away. I'm trying to see how that flake out and away. See how that already set a lowered spot in the center. And what we're trying to do is we're basically isolating. Okay, now this flake here. Almost got too far into my platform. Don't like, there's a little bit of a weird spot underneath that I don't really care for. So I'm going to reset that. Man, I mean, the wind is blowing here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's, my old house is popping and creaking, and this one's not the greatest setup ever, but I think it will. Well, it would have until I did that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah. All right, that little lowered platform right there in the center, that's a little bit smaller than this one. About the same, I guess. So we got a couple of them ready to go. And I'm telling you what, the way it sounds out here, we may have wind damage today. My old dog is scared right now. She doesn't like these weird noises. All right. See if we can get this one kind of tamed down a little bit. Do a little bit more punch work, it looks like. So when I'm looking at this, you can see all the, oh yeah, we've got a lot of, well, it's kind of, in my region, you know, we've got a lot of the Bodark or Osage orange. And you want to try to get that as much as you can in sheltered areas, because the wind will twist it. If you live in an area that's got a consistent breeze going through there, it will actually twist those trees. All right, let's see if we can. There it went. Just trying to catch that little edge. That was a nice contour and flake right there. That will definitely help me get my profile later, because I've got basically the finished thickness going on right up here in the tip. All I have to do is build that convexity to the center. And that's what this final pass should be. You're trying to establish what your final thickness, or at least really close to that. And then you start building that convexity for your final fluting shots there. An area right there. Try to set up a little bit of a platform to get this last little area right here off the back, off there. You can see these little chattery spots. And I've got a kind of a chance at it right here. I've just got to make sure I got a good platform set up and isolate it real good. So rather than go directly at it, you want to, each of these things you want to do the same, you know, imagine this is, you know, in the center, you're doing the same thing. You're working towards that defect and isolating it, and then setting up a platform that, you know, basically the energy has no choice but to go there. Trying to get a steeper angle on those. I'm not bending my wrist when I push, I'm just turning it so I can push in at a steeper angle. And what this should end up looking like once you've got it set up is basically like a fluting platform. You know, it's just an isolated spot on this margin that we're going to try to use. You see how that's dropped down right there, and I've got this area right here underneath it. Now it's a little wider than I would normally make it, because this area right here is kind of flat with just a tiniest bit of concavity to it. So I got a bigger flute so that it'll spread out quicker. The initiation should be wider, and I should be able to get more energy into it before it breaks. Hopefully that'll carry it underneath that spot. Just like that. There's what's left of it anyway. You can see that went right across the tail section of that. Now I've got a little bit over here to clean up. And we've still got some of that Cortex junk crack there, so that's an area that we're going to lose anyway, so it'll work out real well to use that to set up to come back this way. I am really liking working with this Texas material, Blake. I got this from Blake Fleming. This is some really, it's tough rock, but it's really consistent, and I like working with it. All right, let's see if we can. Taking some really steep, aggressive flakes because this area over here, we're not going to save that. So I'm really going to use that to get into this material that we are going to save, and then try to come back and get under that piece right there. A lot of flint knapping is similar to, you know, like playing pool, where you're trying to, each shot should lead you to your next shot. You know, you're setting up stuff as you go along and thinking a little bit down the line what your next move would be. You don't think that stuff's sharp? That just bounced back into the... It's so sharp that just bouncing off this leather pad and going back, it just stuck in it. Right here, I'm gonna come back this way just a little, because we've got an undercut that I need to realign with the face that I'm working here. See, and by taking those flakes down, what do I do with my, there it is. Now you see how by lowering that, how that really accentuated that area up here. I mean, it really isolated it. So now I'm going to come back into it this way with pressure first. I may not need to use the, yeah, I am going to use it, the shaft punch. All right, now you see how I worked to where I isolated that, and now that area that I've got of mass, this actually might carry over and take a lot of that out. Best case scenario is it goes almost all the way to the other side. Worst case, it's just going to go out here and clear out some of this mass in the center. Well, it went out just past center line. That's okay. Not quite what I wanted, but that's okay. Do like the bob. We'll just make a happy little platform right next to it. Jenny was telling me the other day when she was listening to me on live that I was like Bob Ross and flint knapping. That wasn't quite as thick a flake as I wanted it. It was a little thin flake that traveled quite a ways, but it wasn't. That's what I was wanting right there. And that went all the way over here and really affected that nicely. That's what I was wanting over there. Oh, well, yeah, I'm afraid I probably am showing my age a little bit there, Bob, but you know, not going to be much longer that I can hide it anyway, so you know, might as well embrace it, I guess. This year I get to start getting the senior discount in a lot of places, so you know, I got that going for me. See how nicely that flake just went out there and just tapered out into that center. And we just got this area right here, a little bit of mass that we're working on, and then we're going to turn back and work on this side. Again, that one just went out there and just terminated right in the center. I don't need as long a flake here. I'm going to pressure flake that instead of hitting it with this. I don't want it to lip out or to take too much of that margin, because we've got a really nice profile going with this, and I'd rather not do something stupid and mess it up. J-Rock, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Sorry guys if Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry if I've missed any comments there. Was concentrating on this. We've got this last little Cortex crusty trash area right here, and then the rest of it will be pretty cut and dry. So if I can get this, and then we'll do the shaping, and I'll set it aside and we'll flute it on Friday. Diego, thank you for the share. I appreciate it. Guys, if you like this stuff and you want to help support the channel, if you subscribe, the end of this month I'm going to give this away to one of my subscribers. You don't have to be present to win, and I'll draw for that live so that there's no question about who got it. And then I'll get your information and send it to you. That's the point we're doing this month. Last month we gave away a Dalton, I think Bubba. Hey, Cash, how you doing? So that'll be a thank you to one of my subscribers for the support of the channel and everything. So I really do appreciate you guys. Awesome. Awesome, Cash. You still enjoying your necklace? Chris, good morning. Christopher. You may go by Christopher, and I just assumed Chris. So Christopher. Awesome. Awesome, All right, now you can see over half of that flake, maybe, over half of that flake is like this crusty cortex, and then this side over here is where the Chris, right on. And there's still some more left underneath there, but it's not near as bad. So I think we're going to be able to get through it with come on. There was a little bit of it. That's a tough spot, isn't it? I may try pressure flicking. I don't want to have to hit it much harder than that, but that cortex in that area is really tough, and I don't want to, at this point, if I put a big gouge in the side of that, it's going to really mess up my contours. So if nothing else, I'll go back and set it up with this and then hit it again with the punch. Yeah, that went a lot easier. And by doing what I'm grinding on the top of there, I'm trying to take off any loose little ridges or flakes. I'm trying to strengthen up that ridge as much as possible. Because if it'll hold together longer, then I'll get more of the energy from this shaft punch. Sam, I am making a fulsome preform. Fulsome arrowheads. We're going to flute these on Friday. I don't know if you're familiar with flint knapping, but fluting them is removing a channel flake. These are casts of original artifacts. Let me find a good one that'll show off the flute. This is a smaller one. Mine are going to be a little larger than that, but you can see that flute flake, that long flake right down the center. That's referred to as a channel or a flute flake. And on this particular point style, it is its defining characteristic. So it's very important that everything be just so for it to do that. I will say though, after looking at a lot of artifacts, oh no, don't apologize. They were the Folsom culture was a hunter-gatherer. They were hunting. Well, they found points in association with extinct Bison antiquus, which was a predecessor, or it actually was on the plains at the same time as our bison that we have now. But it was about 25% larger than the buffalo that we have now. So that was their main quarry, was the large buffalo. That's where they're found most associated with. Unlike, like the Clovis, you see those with sloths and mammoths and mastodons and camels, horses, all kinds of stuff. But I believe that they were taking out the bigger stuff, and then as they evolved, the Folsom culture, they're a little bit sleeker design on their tools. Tells me that more than likely we went from a hand thrown or a thrusting spear in the beginning part of the Clovis culture to where the points started getting smaller as the culture began to evolve, until we got to a point where the Folsom was the next technology that took over. And I believe that's because they were hunting smaller animals, so they needed to be able to throw their weapons farther at them. And anybody in here that does any archery, you're not going to put a big 4-inch Clovis point on the end of a atlatl dart, which is a big arrow, and try to throw it at them. The trajectory would be horrible. So I believe once those points started getting smaller, that's because their game was getting smaller also. Oh. All right, let's give this a shot, guys. Sorry about the long-winded response there, Sam, but that's, in a nutshell, it's a projectile point for culture of people that lived about somewhere close to 13,000 years ago. And that's all we wanted right there, guys. Was just a nice little I lost some of that off as it came off there, but or maybe I didn't. There it is. And that was just a large amount of that chunky cortex looking stuff. Got just a little bit more, but that really set us up nice right in that area. So we've got a nice lenticular shape. All right, we're gonna do some more pressure flaking now to try to set this one up, and that'll give us 3. Get any burrs off of that pressure flaker. I like it to be a fairly smooth, not a point, but a rounded, like a narrowed, rounded area. If it's pointed, this antler will fail quickly. You want almost a rounded tip on it. It's not like, you know, a lot of guys that use copper, they like a fairly sharp point because it's a place to grab a hold of that material in a really fine spot. But with the antler, if you point it too much, it'll just crumble and break. So I'm just trying to make a strong little kind of domed over area to make contact on that platform to press off those flakes. But as I do that, that sharp edge of this, as it goes under, it'll scrape that away and it actually dulls your tool. So eventually you need to go back and re-scrape and shape it. I mean, you don't have to. You could use the other end of it. It doesn't have to be sharp. It's just about getting that the working end of whatever tool you're using to make good clean contact on that edge. And it's easier for me if I can see where I'm placing that tool point. Mash, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Find an area where I like to, there we go. I don't know if you can see those little flakes that are coming off there. I'm not grinding the edge. I'm just dragging off these tiny little edge turning flakes. The edge is still fairly sharp, but I'm just taking off these little contouring flakes that are actually turning that edge. And again, of those, I'm kind of brushing and pushing. It's grinding a little bit, but for the most part, it's just pushing off little weak flakes. Do the same thing on this side. We're going to do another series down this face, but it's not going to be as inward. It's going to be more of a straight down to start building some of the convexity back into this side. You can see how it's getting fairly thin. We've got a little bit of work to do right in here. A little bit up here that's kind of got some weird contours, and that's what we're going to go after next. Because like I said, with these particular point styles, everything has got to be just so for you to get an expected outcome. And so far, from making, you know, the ones that I have, I feel like that the isolated ridge down the center, you know, and good overall convexity in the point are the keys. It doesn't have to be rounded, but you have to have an isolated ridge for that energy to run, or it's just most of the time going to break your point in half. And I have broken a bunch of them, so, you know, take it from me. That's what I said. This point style, when I first started making it, was one of the most frustrating, because, you know, you whittle this rock down so much that if it doesn't go well, you know, there's not a lot of stuff that you can salvage and make out of it. It's just a failed attempt at a Folsom. So it's been a pretty tough point style for me to learn. But to continue, I'm still working on it. I mean, it's still a work in progress for sure for me. Those flakes were kind of into a concavity there, so I went more down than in, trying to get those to adjust that. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Yeah, I haven't come up with the idea of what I want to give away for the 10,000 followers, guys, but I think it's going to be something pretty nice. So if you want to be eligible for that, you just got to be a follower of the channel or of the page, and I'll announce when we do a live drawing just for the followers that are in the room at that time. So John, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And then at the end of this month, I've already shown you guys, but I'm going to give this away to one of my subscribers as a thank you for supporting the channel and all that. So if you'd like to be eligible for that, just hit that subscribe button, and you'll be eligible. No, you don't have to be present to win that one. I'll draw from my subscribers and notify you and get your mailing information, and I'll send it to you at my cost. Thank you, I appreciate it, John. Now I've got some of my finished stuff. I don't know if you've seen, you know, if you go to my profile, you'll see a lot of the finished work that I've done. This week I've been working on Folsoms, and I've got a couple that we're gonna do a Friday. We're gonna flute points. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna call it Fluting Friday, and I'm hoping to have about a half a dozen or so ready to go. And there will be failures if you want if you want to come and watch some points come apart, and you know, try to be there for that, because it'll happen. This point style is way too difficult to not expect at least some failures in it. So Mark, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. You know, it's like I said, and it kind of helps me keep my sanity, but several archaeological papers that I've researched, and they were doing analysis of the manufacturing areas. Now, how they come up with the numbers, I don't know, but yeah, no whammies, no whammies. Now who's giving their age away? You want to press your luck, Rick? I think they came out with a new version of that, but yeah, that was That was old school game show, just got off of school and nothing else was on TV. These kids nowadays will never understand the struggle. I know you got a birthday coming up there, Rick. Don't ask me how I know that, but I do. Yeah, I'll be 55 this June. All right, we're going to take another little punch flake, hopefully. I've got this area right here of mass that's, you can see this section, and I'm going to take a few flakes just to try to get better convexity in that area. But I'm going to lead up to it with the pressure flaker. So Rick, you get to open some birthday presents tomorrow, huh? Right on. Well, if hopefully everything is, your birthday ends up the way you want it to. All right. Now you can see how I chipped from each end and then isolated that again in the center. And we're just wanting like a nice little contouring flake. See how that didn't go way out in there, but what that did was it took a lot of that mass that we had that was right there, and now it's gone. And then there's a flake right next to it that should, or a ridge right next to it that should give us the last of that. Now this one, I actually want it to kind of, there's a little bit of a low spot. You can see right here where that flake from over here didn't travel. But I think coming from this side, right there, it should go over into this area, hopefully. Tyler, thank you for the follow. Just like that. Actually, I undercut it just a little bit. I'm okay with that. It's a little deeper than I wanted, but I can work with it. That's the way this, especially this point style is, there's a ordered way that they did things, and you can see it in the way that the process that they did was so exacting, because they were trying to end up with a particular profile, and everything had to work just so. So it's a little bit, it can be a little tedious setting them up, because everything, if you can get it to this point, and I mean, this is a nice, profile. This point could be finished out into any number of different point styles, but as we're continuing to adjust the edges and get that contour right, once you get down so far, it's going to be a fulsome, or it's going to be a pile of gravel. So you kind of have to be okay and set that thought in your mind that you're working on a point style that is extremely difficult, and you're kind of sacrificing the rock to the rock gods and saying, okay, we're gonna give this a shot. All right, we're gonna try to get a little bit thinner flake. I don't want a big gougy flake here. I just want to, yeah, just like that. That went right out here almost to the center. Trying to get underneath that. That was the last of that. You can see a couple of those flakes there. That was the last of that crusty cortex area stuff. like the texture of that antler as well as I did the other one. Now here again, that was a little flatter, so instead of pushing in, it's more of a downward flake. If you try to push in too much into that concavity, then it's just going to end up going in there and stopping. And at this stage, what we're trying to do is build convexity. We want these flakes to go in and just kind of round off so that it's isolating a center ridge. And you can see that series there, it's on the top. Now you see how it's more rounded this way? And see how flat the underside of that is? What we're trying to do by the end is we're trying to get to a point where you can see how rounded that is. All the way around, it's base to tip, it's got this ridge right here. And that's what we're trying to do with this, is set up. Hey, Chris, good morning. I don't know if I should have answered that, though. You said to the beautiful people, you know, and I've told you guys, I've been told I have a great face for radio, so I'll let everybody else answer that one. Oh, right on, Rick. Absolutely. I don't know how to, I don't think you can send pictures through TikTok, but if you, like I said, great face for radio, Chris. But no, if you look me up on Facebook or Instagram, same name as. Right on, I'll have a look-see at them. I mean, I'm not a typologist expert, or I've done a lot of research. I mean, I'll give you that, but there are others that are more qualified than me, I'm sure. All right, I think. Oh man, that wind is just ripping out there. I think we're going to try to flute this face first. This one's still got a few little dips and stuff in it that I need to get out on this side. You can see how it's, that one flake that I said was a little deeper than I wanted. See, there's a spot there, and that'll absolutely stop a flute. Got a little bit of weight on this side here to match it up. You can see that. And I can use the next few series going back and forth to adjust those. So we're going to try to flute this face first. So that being said, you want to angle that the face, or the fluting platform is going to be set up to this side. So we're going to, got a little bit of a spot there I need to clean up. So I'm going to take steep downward flakes. Yeah, no kidding. I think all of them now would be flying squirrels, wouldn't they, Chris? Them suckers try to jump limb to limb, and this stuff, they're liable to take off. I was a kid, I found one time that I guess it had, I don't know if it had died of natural causes, and then somebody had run over it with one of our tractors or a truck or something. Yeah, no kidding. Now, you don't want to be in Iowa today, man. They got snowstorms. We're actually forecast for a chance of snow this afternoon and evening. The temperature is supposed to drop throughout the day. I mean, that cold low pressure front coming in. I think that's why my back and everything's bothering me yesterday and today, is because of this incoming weather. It will definitely remind me that I'm not as young as I used to be. Oh, right on. Now, is that, yeah, I was going to say, is that Branson? That's not terribly far from where I'm at, Chris. That's probably, an hour and 45 minutes kind of northeast of where I'm at. Yeah, it sounds like you're going to have, now is it an indoor shoot? Because, man, outdoor today, I would not want to shoot anything, past 20 yards. And I'm not sure I'd like to try 20 yards. Especially shooting with my equipment, man. It's slow, and it's definitely not intended for scoring rings. I don't want to hit it any harder, so we'll use a pressure flake off that. I was hoping to be able to run that over into the other side, but sometimes, there we go. See, and that flake, that went all the way into that, over the top of that ridge. That flake is almost an inch long. See, and that one did the same thing. Just adjusting those profiles. All right. Now this series of flakes, you see how flat and almost undercut, like right in here and all that? I don't want to try to drive flakes in. That's not what the purpose of this series right here is, to build that convexity. We're trying to isolate that ridge. If it wasn't for that one low spot right there, I'd try to flute this side first, but it will not work that way. That helped a little though. Now this series, we're just going to take nice little kind of downward rounded flakes and try to build a little convexity. And we may have to do one more series of flakes to that face to get it to isolate that ridge running down the middle. And again, I'm going to work on some more of these off camera. So I know this is not the most exciting content, guys. So but there's just a lot of work. Right on, Zach. I'm glad you made it in. Just telling everybody, I know this is not riveting content, but it's these points are just so they're just so specific in the way that you have to build them, and I am not good enough at them yet that I can just mindlessly pump them out. So it takes me quite a while to get them set up to where I feel confident that I'm going to get a positive flake out of it and not just waste my time, because that's frustrating. It's part of the process, but it's frustrating. Well, it's tough, Rick, I'll tell you, because I have been, I worked on that one last night and I got it. I think it's going to be close to going. You know, and it's like I said, not all these are going to be successful flutes. And I know that going into it, but if I can learn, you know, like, you know, if a profile was a little bit off, you know, or if it was off enough but it still worked, I'm still learning from it, you know, and that's the key to all of this stuff is even when you have an outcome that's not exactly like what you were wanting, you still got to figure out a way to learn from it, because otherwise you're just breaking rocks. You know, you have to do it with some kind of purpose, or it's not gonna. It's just like sitting down with a guitar and playing the same 3 chords and never doing anything else. You're never gonna get better at anything other than those 3 chords. You really have to. You kind of have to push it a little bit, and that's what these points do to me. Is they make it. Luke, thank you for the follow. They push me to my limit of what I can do, and I like that. You know, I like the challenge of them, especially with these tools, you know. That's the kind of series right there that you want with these. That was a good clean platform. I had a good angle on everything, and you can see how that's already starting to get that curved edge along here. That's what you're going for, is that kind of a, you know, like a hollow ground look to it, because that keeps that energy when we try to hit that flute from back here. It keeps it from spreading out. It can only run along that ridge because there's no material. Sometimes it will dive in or out, and it can do that. And what causes that usually is changes in the thickness or the mass of that channel flake. So that's why it's so important to get you know, a fairly even preform that doesn't have these low spots. See, this low spot right here is going to cause troubles. I've got to get it out of there when I come back this way, or that flute will not go past that. I will guarantee it will either stop right there or the point will fail when it hits that, because the energy is trying to go somewhere and it really doesn't have anywhere to go. and try another series here. Same face, and then these are going to be a little bit harder and more inward, just a little. I'm just trying to continue building that convexity. Mainly through this section here. You can see where it's kind of lowered this way. And those are just going to be downward. Just nice little easy flakes. All right, now you can see the start of, I just ran those flakes down this edge. You see how it's those big ripped out flakes. This material does not show the pattern. There you can see some of it. See how the spacing on those? And how similar that spacing looks to this original artifact. Mine are a little closer together, but what I'm trying to do is what this guy was doing was just isolating that ridge right behind that platform. Same thing on this side. You can see this one hasn't been set up with those flakes this way. It was only done on this side, but you can see the type of flakes that were set in that fluting ridge. This cast, or it's a cast of an artifact, failed on the first flute attempt. But those are great study pieces because, you know, you can see the profiles that they were going for prior to attempting to flute it. This is flint knapping, is the term that's used to describe it. I'm shaping stone or lithic material in an ordered way to end up making artifacts, you know, modern artifacts, but reproductions. I don't have any really finished stuff out here with me, but this is just the process of reducing the rock from a core stone and then working it down to a biface. And these particular point styles are difficult to say the least. They're challenging, I guess would be a better way to put it. And I really like this side better if it wasn't for that spot right there. we're going to see if we're going to run a set this way, and then we'll turn back and try to get a little bit more convexity on this side. And we're about done for the day as far as live. I'm going to be working on more of this stuff off camera, and then if I do go live tonight, I'm planning on it, but if I do, I'll do a closer camera angle, and we're going to do a lot of, this would be technically would be a dart point or an atlatl point This would have been put on the end of a like a long shaft, almost like a big arrow, an atlatl dart. The finished piece will look something like this is a broken one. It's a little bit bigger and easier to see. These are just various casts, guys, that I've got of different. That one broke at some point. This is a cast, but it was both sides fluted. But you can see, even on this one, that flute didn't go all the way to the tip, but look how crazy thin that piece is. But they fluted it anyway. Now, I don't know if it broke on this flute, but that's kind of what we're going towards, something like that. Here's another example. This is called the Barry County Folsom. This came from just north of where I live. So, but that's essentially what they're going to look like, kind of close. I've got a few examples on my profile if you want to go check that out. I've made a few of them. I'm still working on them. Like I said, it's a challenging point style to say the least. See if I can get this to clear out here. I might flip this side first. I might switch. I'm not going to do it with that. That was better. See, these flakes are traveling well over halfway. See, I've got, see that series right there is what I just ran on that one. And I'm going to come back this other direction. Try to match those up. And then we're going to probably call it a morning. I don't like the way that one broke. There we go. That wasn't too horrible there. That actually didn't work too bad for that side. It might flute now. If the house doesn't get blown away between now and tonight or to Friday, we should have another one here. And I think I am going to set that up to flute this other side first. I like the angles and the profiles of it better. Right from the get-go, it was just that one spot that was really giving me some issues. But yeah, I think that'll actually flute. All right, so now we got an opportunity to get some of that. That's the other thing I didn't like about it. There's like this little junky spot right there that I was going to have to work around to set up my platform. So now I can actually try to work some of that out. To get it out again on another round there. Okay, I'm not gonna set this fluting platform up on this one just yet, because we're at the end of the time for the day. I'll work on it again later, and then maybe tonight if I go live tonight. This is what we got so far for fluting on Friday. We're gonna give those a shot live. I may have to mess with that one a little bit, but we're going to give them a try anyway. You know, I've been having a pretty good track record here lately, so I'm due to break a bunch. So if you guys want to see a bunch of them get broken, then tune back in on Friday. But guys, I appreciate you coming in and sitting with me for a while, asking questions and comments and all that. I appreciate it. So if you're out and about today, be careful and watch out for yourselves and everybody around you. And until later this evening, hopefully, keep chipping. We'll see you then.